It's nice to see you all. Hi, Judith.
Hello,
Hi,
Phrancko.
Claire.
Hi.
Hi, Maris. Kathy.
Hi.
Hi, Sumner.
Hi.
Hi, Jensine.
Hi.
Hi, Mary.
Hello, hello.
Hi, Rana.
Hello, I'm glad your husband is better.
Thank you for your well wishes. And hi, David.
Your sweater looks great.
I had to wear it today because I finally got it back from the editor. So I will just show it off briefly. I'm really happy with it. So as you all know, this is the sweater I've been working on for the last month and a half, and finally got published in Cast On magazine. And the back looks different than the front. If I can you?
Yep. Yes, I can see.
Cool.
Oh, that's really cool.
I'm very happy with it.
Yes.
You should be.
Fantastic. I like how you added extra pearls on the side to really set the cables off. You can see that.
Yes.
Yeah.
The alternative was to do all of it in reverse stockinette, and I really didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
The definition looks great.
Why, thank you.
Now, is that off your V-neck pattern?
Yes, it started with my V-neck pattern, and then I just altered it to add the cables. Of course, I had to include charts for the cables and included extra stitches in the shoulder to account for the fact that the cable pulls it in tighter. So there were another number of modifications, but the most interesting one to me was making a wide cable that is basically rectangular fit into an area that is at an angle on the two sides of the neck. And, you know, the rest of the sweater is knit this way. And so this cable that looks like this doesn't fit in it. And to fit it in, I had to add short rows at the top and short rows at the bottom where it came together to make it curve back down to be vertical.
Wow.
And so that's all described in the pattern.
Show off.
I usually have some technique in mind that I either want to learn or figure out, and a problem to solve. That's what motivates me to keep coming up with new patterns, new techniques that I just want to explore. I know other designers have different ways of being inspired for design. Some are inspired by colors in an environment. Some are inspired by patterns in a wallpaper or tile floor. I'm inspired by techniques that I want to learn and get familiar with. I'm real excited about my next sweater, which is going to use Intarsia in the round.
Oh, no.
Oh, wow. So, okay. Have you started working on it?
I did a sample baby sweater top to make sure I could do it.
Did you show us that 2 weeks ago?
I might have shown it to you. I can go get it and show you again.
Showed it. Get it again.
Again, yeah.
Hey, Ron.
Hi.
I will be
Hi,
right
Ron.
back. Entertain yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves. Mill around.
Okay, I missed last Saturday. Did Ron share his character photos?
He did not.
No, we haven't seen that yet.
We opened last night.
How'd it go?
It went very well. Okay,
Good.
Wow.
here I am.
I have good intentions to come.
That's what I
Oh
look
my
like without a
goodness.
beard. It's a surprise even to myself.
Yay.
Oh, it's very different, Ron.
Very handsome.
I know, it's gross, right?
No, I don't
very
think it's
I don't
gross.
think
It's
so.
just different.
Completely different. Oh my God.
Yeah. I look like my mother.
No, that's,
No, you don't.
that's okay.
No,
No, I really
we
do.
are.
I mean, maybe a little more 5 o'clock shadow, but
I
yeah.
completely look like my mother, so that's okay.
And me too.
So
maybe
do you
I
have
can-
photos?
Oh my goodness, Ron, I would not
It's just very,
recognize
very
you.
different.
It still startles me. But 2 more weeks. Let me see if I can. So my costumer, who's very, very good,
Yes.
best in town. So here's a sort of close-up pic.
I love it.
Goodness.
Oh, that's good.
It's fun.
I'm wearing about 25 pounds of green taffeta.
Wow.
Let me see. Here's my full Act 1 ensemble.
Oh my
That is
goodness.
magnificent.
What a
Beautiful.
dress.
That is
The
awesome.
dress is
Heidi make
gorgeous.
that?
The dress is gorgeous, and it's very, very comfortable. It's all held together by Velcro.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
The blouse is just a dickie.
Okay.
What's a dicky?
It's just the front of the blouse
Okay. Okay. Sure.
And the neck.
And the neck.
Mhm.
and the neck.
Yeah.
I made that little reticule bag. I made one reticule bag for both of my costumes.
That's
So-
cute.
How long
Very
does it
cute.
take to dress and have the makeup and everything?
The
Must
makeup
take-
takes me half an hour.
Okay,
that's
you
not
do it
bad.
yourself or
I
you
do it
have
myself.
someone?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's hard to tell in this photo. It's pretty dramatic contouring and age
Well, you
makeup
need that
on.
in theater.
Yeah, I'm standing in front of see, look, here is my process. Can you see this well enough?
It's a little
A little bright.
washed out.
Yeah.
Careful,
Yeah, that's
careful when
better.
you flip pictures. You never know what's going to
Oh,
show up.
Now you can
gosh.
see. Mhm.
Oh, look at that.
Oh my gosh.
Blended.
A lot
Wow.
different.
That's a
Oh
good
my
idea.
goodness.
What?
Wow.
Oh, that's great.
Wow.
That's
It's
crazy.
so amazing how it changes.
Yeah, it accentuated the double chin. Like it's just, and the
Right.
rouge, man. Wearing about
Great.
just, I don't know, a tablespoon of powder on it.
Amazing.
Yeah, so we opened last night. I've got 6 more performances.
The importance of being earnest. Somebody had to say that out loud because some people may not know what we're talking about.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
I'm
you
playing
play
Lady
play-
Bracknell.
Lady Bracknell in The Importance of Being Earnest.
Yeah, I was specifically
A handbag?
A
A
hand.
handbag?
Yes.
Sorry.
I guess that's a line. Huh?
It's hardly an assured basis for a recognized position in good society.
Oh,
Well, I'm
unfortunately.
glad I saw you here, Ron, because if I'd gone to see it, I probably wouldn't have known who that was. Open
You
your
would have.
mouth, and even then.
I am fully 8 inches taller than anyone else in the cast without the wig and hat.
Right. But if I hadn't known you were in it at all, do you think I would have guessed right away?
Once you heard my voice, I
Well, yeah, yeah.
think.
Oh my goodness.
And the role is always played by a man.
Is that true?
Not
Yes.
always, of course.
Yeah, but most commonly,
Is that right?
Oh, eh?
yeah. A lot of famous actors have played Lady Bracknell. So you're in good company, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
That's
Yeah, it's going well for me. It's being well received. I feel a little bad because, of course, my bow is in the middle of the curtain call, and then the audience is obligated to cheer for everyone else too.
But you know who they're really cheering for.
Yeah, so there you go. If I get some more photos of the run, I can share them with you. My Act 2 costume is very good as well. It's all in autumn colors, a giant lace work, triangular bib in front. My hat has a full pheasant on it.
Oh.
Just this giant disapproving pheasant. Feathers. In my last tech rehearsal, my feathers got stuck in the sofa.
Oh no.
Oops.
They came out and then the quills got stuck in the sofa. And I am so tall in the boot, and I'm wearing 4-inch heels. And I'm already 6'2", and the wig and the hat. And I get stuck in the masking fabric. So one of my entrances nearly like took my wig off because no one was there to hold the curtain up, and the mask, the masking is here because it's for a normal person. And so it's been an exciting week for me. But
congratulations. That
Yeah.
sounds like a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
That is fun.
Thank you.
So I went and got the prototype of my next pattern.
Yes.
And some of you have seen it before, but here it is.
Oh, yeah.
I am not going to do the stranded color work. I decided the pattern's complicated enough without adding that. That actually multiplied the complication, as you can imagine. But it really wasn't too hard. But I'm also changing the lines of division. Let's see, which side am I on? I can never do it.
Other side. There you go. Yeah.
Okay, this vertical line is going to go diagonal across the front, like that.
Oh.
Okay.
That would nice.
So the I get it backwards. There. So all of this will be gray too. So it'll be a diagonal line down from there. And then this one will be a diagonal line, not in that direction.
Oh.
I can't.
So are you using bobbins?
There. So, I'm sorry, what?
Are you using bobbins?
No.
No.
I use
little butterfly?
entire balls because
Oh, okay.
it's not intricate work. There's, let me see. At the most complicated part, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 different color changes around this part, from sleeve cap across the front are 2, another sleeve cap, and across the back are 2. So that's 6 different color changes in each round. I get so confused trying to hold things up. What that means is I just have 6 balls of yarn hanging off of it, and I'm only working with one at a time. And I just keep untwisting the lines if they get twisted.
Yeah.
So
what does it look like on the inside?
Oh, that's a good question. It looks just like Intarsia looks everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Nice.
It looks simple, but I know it's not.
It is once you get the idea of how to do it. It's really quite simple. I don't know why a lot of people aren't doing this, except that it was hard for me to learn how. And now that I have learned how, I know why it was hard for me to learn how. And I'm going to do a video and say, this is really very simple. You just have to understand these few principles. Mainly one, every time you start a new color, you pick up the yarn from underneath the color you were working with in the last section.
Yeah.
Well, everybody knows that's what you do in Intarsia, except that when you go all the way around and you want to reverse directions, where is the yarn that you're going to pick up your working yarn from under? It's actually at the other end of a color section. So you have to bring it across the color section, lay it across the working yarn, and then continue. But you're really doing the same thing. You're picking up the yarn we're going to work with from underneath the color that was just to the right of the color you're knitting. People describe that in all sorts of different ways. They say bring a yarn across the color section and create a loop by twisting them together. Well, as if it was a new thing. No, it's really the same thing. You're picking up the yarn you're going to knit with from underneath the color that was from the section before. It just happened to not be right next to you like it usually is. Anyway, I can explain it better in a video, I think. And
yeah, I'd be interested in that. That'd be awesome.
We'll be watching.
So would I.
I'll be liking that video. Yeah.
The other way of doing this is to do Intarsia in the round and have one place, say in the middle of a solid section, where you're going to just reverse directions every time. And you do some special little trick to link those two stitches together. And I did a pair of socks that way. And that special column of linked stitches shows. I mean, they're not like other stitches. And so, of course, everything that's different in a block of color is going to look different. But this method of doing it, every single color change is exactly the same as normal Intarsia color changing. And as you can see, there's just dotted lines everywhere on the inside of the fabric.
So when you reverse direction, Frank, do you reverse in the same place every time?
Yes, that's the other thing I didn't understand when I watched videos and read a book. I did a lot of research and still couldn't do it until I finally worked it out. But yes, the place there is a start and finish of every row. Okay. And that's where you reverse every time, and it's at one color change. If that color change moves, then you slip stitches to get to where it starts again when you turn
okay, around. That was my next question. Just like you're going to do the diagonal line.
That's right. So every other, I think I'm going to do it. I have to do a swatch to make sure I know. But I think I'm going to have it extend over one stitch every other row. And so when it extends over a stitch, I've finished a color change, turned the work around, and now I'm going to slip one stitch and then start the new color at that new location. Actually, you're starting the new color, which is the color you just used going in the other direction. You're reversing direction, so you're still using the same color.
Same color, but you still wrap them.
You still wrap them. You take the yarn from the far section, put it on top of the yarn you're going to start knitting with, and then go back in the other direction across it. And then all the other color changes are just like Intarsia always is, until you get to that last segment where you borrowed yarn for it. And you do the same thing there you do everywhere else. That yarn that's looped across the color section is the yarn you're going to start working with when you get back to it from around the other way. So you want to pick it up underneath the working yarn. Well, the way you get that to happen is the working yarn that you were using is dropped through the loop. And then you continue. But people focus a lot on dropping it through the loop and don't ever say, or at least I didn't get, that what you're doing is the same thing you've always done. You're picking up the yarn you're going to use from underneath the yarn that you just used. It doesn't matter that it goes through a loop by chance in order to do that. It just, you just do it.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'd love to see that. I'd be better, watching it.
Yeah, I'm doing it in the air. Can't you see my knitting?
Yeah. I just watched someone talk about Intarsia in the round, and I couldn't visualize it. And someone I really respect on YouTube, Roxanne Richardson, and she didn't have a video of doing it.
Oh.
So I think yours will be, I'm anxious to see what it looks like.
Suzanne actually has a video on it, and I tried to use that to learn. I'm not criticizing Suzanne because I love her teaching, but I didn't realize that if you only have two colors, you can get very confused as to which one you put on top and underneath and drag around and do all these special things with. because there's just one color change. There's two color changes, and each half is a different color. It's far more complicated to keep track of where you're at. And I thought, well, I'm just going to try it out on a sample. And I used two colors and could not stop being confused as to, well, do I create a loop here or do I not create a loop? Do I drop it? Which side is the loop? I mean, you've got a yarn going across the entire middle of the thing. And so which side is the loop? All of that gets answered by just saying, I'm going to work in that color yarn, and the color I was with goes on top of it, and then I pick it up from underneath and keep going.
And so you are knitting back and forth.
You are. And I'm going to have to ask
really
some
neat.
tech editor, perhaps the tech editor at Cast On magazine when I publish. Will I use the word round or row in my pattern? Because they're rounds because they go all the way around and end up back where you started, but they're rows because you change directions every time you get to that point. And so you knit a row and then you purl a row, and then you knit a row and then you purl a row. So are they rows?
Knit around and reverse around. That might, my brain says knit around, reverse around.
Oh, well, yes, but I have to say, for 5 rounds, do this, or for 4 rounds, or 4 rows, or rows/rounds. I mean, I just have to words to use.
Yeah, new nomenclature.
It feels very much like you're knitting flat.
Yeah, I have an Argyle sock pattern. I did it a few years ago, and I was remembering how I did it while you were talking, and I couldn't remember. And I had the same problem where I had to watch many videos before I figured it out. But I can look at that pattern too and tell you what she did. So, if I can find it.
And then an Argyle sock in the round, not flat? Because I've only seen.
Yeah, I don't know I don't remember how the pattern was written, whether she said in the round or flat. But I'll look and see what they said, just to give you one perspective.
Well, the tech editor is Sharon, and the editor is Arinda, and one of the two of them is going to have a strong opinion as to which word to use, row or round, or maybe, and I hope they agree. I'll just do whatever they say.
Yeah, let's hope they agree. Yeah, it'd be an interesting way to do a Phrancko striped sweater. Like to do a vertical striped sweater.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Do a Phrancko.
Yes.
There was a Ralph Lauren sweater years ago in multiple colors. Every color was different, vertically striped.
Oh.
That was machine knit. So I don't know how they did it. And it was way too expensive for me to purchase.
Yeah.
It was actually Ralph Lauren. It wasn't his line from Macy's, you know.
I see.
Really neat. But yeah, I wasn't going to spend $400 on a sweater. I'd love to see how to make one.
But you might spend $400 on yarn.
Exactly.
For the sweater that I would make, absolutely. Because I'm a knitter.
So much more.
Right.
I'm knitting this Phrancko off a cone. It is so interesting.
Whoa. It must be a really fine yarn, is it?
No.
Really?
They call it a DK.
Really?
But I'm actually knitting my Phrancko on 8s. Because this will really bloom.
Oh.
So they call it a DK, and they say 5, 6, 7, and they give you how many stitches per inch. But I love not ever having to change a ball.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. Yes. And it was so affordable. Harrisville Designs in New Hampshire. Yeah. Very neat.
So you did
a sleeve on.
So you did a swatch and you blocked it and you found out it changed size a lot.
Yeah, I did a swatch and I blocked it, and
it gets smaller or larger.
Beautiful. So I needed to go up a needle size to get the fabric drape that I wanted.
Uh-huh.
Right. So, but that's where I also like rib sweaters, like where you do knits and pearls in a row. So you've got to block that and put it in your bag for a week and let it bounce around. And otherwise you're never going to get a right size because it always wants to cinch in.
You're right.
This wants to get bigger. So I have to make it looser when I'm knitting it so that when I actually block it, it tightens up, even though it's cold blocking. Which I guess that's just because it's on the cone, and it's a little firmer too on the cone. It's not so
originally wound very tight on cones.
Oh.
Yeah, it's wound. Yeah, it's wound very tight.
Well, cones are generally used by weavers.
Yeah, for weaving. I was going to say it sounds like a weaving
yarn is under a lot more tension than it is for hand knitting.
Yeah, this is for weavers. But I needed the color. I wanted the color. This is beautiful
nice.
purple.
Very pretty.
And they didn't have enough of it on the skein. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna block it, and it really works. And Phrancko, I am so happy with these tab collars. The saddle shoulders.
Oh, the saddle shoulders. Oh.
I am so happy with this.
Is that right?
He gave me advice on that. I can show you real close. See how tight that is?
It is really
I was putting holes in that. I had such a hard time.
Where you did increases?
The pearl?
Yes. The pearl increase was leaving.
I got it. You give great instruction.
So glad you worked it out.
That's why people need to come to the chat, to the videos. They get good advice. Oh, look at that. I have to clean my dining room.
And good advice doesn't just come from me, all of us. It's a community effort. We help each other.
Yeah, you and Ron were the helps on that one.
Yeah, you have to be careful though, because third Saturday of every month, I give bad advice only. Just to keep things fresh for me. Try blocking it in vinegar.
That's terrible.
Okay.
It'll really relax the fabric. It's not the third Saturday of the month. Maybe I lied.
Someone in a local yarn store blocks it with hair conditioner. Yeah. I'm like, maybe not, but I don't know.
Wow.
I think, no, too much. I don't want cream in my sweater.
I've seen that happen. Many people the thought is that it will soften rough fabrics because it will soften your hair. But I don't know that conditioner does soften your hair. It just makes it oily, right? So yes, it'll make your sweater oily.
Makes your sweater oily.
Which, might be hair.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I use the Eucalan blocking, the unscented one.
When I first started carrying Eucalan, I carried it because people asked for it, and I thought, well, it's probably just a gimmick, but here it is. But once we had a customer who, a bunch of swatches from a class had fallen out in the parking lot and gotten run over. And they were just covered in road dirt and tire prints. And we were like, we found someone's swatches and they're terrible. We should try and clean them before they come back. And we just a little bit of Eucalan and we soaked her swatches and they came out good as new.
Oh, wow.
We only found out later that she threw them out on purpose and ran over them. But we did make them look very nice. But then she was like, I don't want those back. Wow. They're very clean now. But it was remarkable. It's they were run over. Dirt was ground into them. And they came out just sparklingly clean. Beautiful. Remember, Tim?
Yeah, it was amazing.
It was amazing. So I was like, okay, now I can actually recommend this product as opposed to, I have wool wash.
Yeah.
Called soap, but here.
30 years ago, I used Castle soap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we go any farther, let me ask if anybody has any specific questions that we don't want to use up all our time. If somebody's got a question. Oh, Claire's got a question.
I think I've answered it myself, but I thought I wasn't sure when I could bring it up. I am just starting the front shoulders, right?
Okay.
So I picked up those stitches and I watched the little video about how you have to even go into the selvages and stuff to get the same amount of stitches. But in order for me to get the columns to go over the shoulder with the V's in the right direction, I could only do one less. And so is it okay? Is this backwards? It's backwards. So at the somewhere before I start the front neck shaping, I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to make one going whichever direction I need to on the neck edge, somewhere in that first section of the front shoulders. So is that okay?
That will be fine.
Okie dokie.
You're only the second person who has raised this issue of the dreaded 11s, which my pattern creates. I thought people would complain about that constantly because it's such a, it's such a big deal. It's called dreaded 11s. But I have discovered that when you pick up in the stitches and they just don't show. And so I don't worry about it. I do not worry about the dreaded 11s that my pattern encourages you to create, which is that across the stitch, the stitches don't fit together like that. They fit together in a way that they pull two strands together, and it makes two parallel stitches, and that's called the dreaded 11s all the way across the seam. But that's what the issue is that you're trying to solve. You want the pattern to actually look continuous over the seam so that there aren't unusually shaped stitches at the point of the seam.
Right.
And every great teacher, whether it's the master's program or Suzanne, everyone says you must avoid the dreaded 11s. And I am defying convention.
Well, that's what I figured. And it is. It's kind of not going to be seen by galloping horses, but my wraps and turns are not great. And so I've already got that sort of section. Last thing I need is something else to stand out. So
well, it really
splitting the difference.
Stand out, trust me.
I even go so far as to omit the short rows.
Yes, Arinda has suggested that to me. You can
I omit the short rows, and I just whenever I pick up in the middle of a stitch and go the other direction, I'm just like, people don't like this.
Wait, what? Now, how are you doing that?
You just knit across or purl across, and you don't do the short rows.
My row 2 is just a row. I don't.
There is no shaping to there's no shoulder drop.
That is so cheating, Ron. I can't believe it of you.
My daddy always says, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Yes. So now we've learned two things about coming to this meeting. Well, you'll learn every way you can cheat and get by. You can produce dreaded 11s, and you can eliminate the shoulder shaping. 2 cheats in one meeting. That's great.
Yeah. My first Phrancko, I did the short rows, and then my second one I did not, and this one I am not doing the short rows.
Now you tell me. I have done 6 Phranckos now, and every single one of them has short rows. I follow the directions.
Oh, well, sorry.
I follow some directions.
This is a loose fit sweater. You're not going to notice the shaping. I wanted a baggy sweater. I guess if it was tighter, I might consider it.
I want something that'll look good if I decide to wear shoulder pads.
That's good. That's good.
In case they come back
I like the shaping. I think I'll stick to it because plus, as you get older, you're kind of hunched over and you have more of this back here. So
but then you're also putting short rows in front, so that won't help at all, Claire.
Which ones should I eliminate then?
The ones in the front if you want it for your hunching over.
The front shoulders. Okay, wait a minute. Now I have to
But
figure out.
then the knitting police
Row
will come
2 on the
for you.
front and the back both have the short rows.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm wondering which ones I should have eliminated.
If you want extra length for the back, you eliminate the ones on the front.
I'm on the front shoulders. Okay.
Extra height.
So on the back shoulders I did.
Yes,
And that's this, right?
that's right.
And so on the front, I should eliminate the short rows.
I mean, you'll get in trouble for not following the directions, but yeah.
So what's going to happen? You take away my firstborn male child?
No, seriously though, won't it make the neckline a little bit higher in the front? Or will
Yes, it will.
See,
I
and
like
you
that.
don't want the neckline. You want the neckline higher in the front?
Yes, I don't really like V-necks or low. I like
Okay.
boat necks or the whole Diane Keaton thing.
Frank's crew neck is pretty close, just the way it's written.
Yeah.
That's right.
We'll see how it works.
You could also,
Everything's an exception because you get these things like women prefer it down here, women prefer it down here. And then Claire's like, nope, strangle me.
No,
That's right. Claire, you got the crew neck pattern, right?
right.
And so you saw that there was the option of switching to 2 other patterns in that.
Yeah, I think so, but I didn't investigate it.
There's a round neck and a scoop neck that's 5 inches deep.
Yeah, no,
And the round neck is more like 3 inches, and the other one is 2.5 inches, something like that.
But the crew neck is the smallest one, right?
Yeah, the crew neck is the
that's
smallest.
That's the one I want.
And I you might be interested to know that was the only one for a couple of years, until I did the knit along with Suzanne last summer. And in the knit along, it was the first time I was working with a lot of women who were knitting my sweater. I think mostly men knitted my sweater before that, some women, but not many. And they started saying, oh, it's too tight. It comes up against my neck. I don't like it. And so I spent the effort to create those alternate necklines that would be lower. So it's sort of gratifying to hear you say, no, you like the tighter one.
Yeah. My favorite neckline style is kind of I don't know if it's called a boat neck, but it just kind of goes straight across.
Yeah.
Like just a split in the top of
I
the
think
sweater.
I've called that a boat neck. And
Yeah.
I don't have it, but it would be really easy to modify the pattern to include it.
I'm thinking so, but I will stick with, I'm going to make this one according to directions and then branch out.
Okay.
Yes, but are you going to include the short rows? I mean, are you going to follow those directions?
Next time.
Are you going to be
I'm
wild like Ron?
I've been known to do some avant-garde things with my patterns, but I think I will continue with the short rows. Just I'm going to do it according to Phrancko.
There we
Except
go.
for the 11s.
Except for the 11s. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm going to take a hard line on that one.
Can I ask 2 short questions about?
Yes, go right ahead.
I want you to see that I have made enormous progress. The 2 sleeves are in.
Oh, that's
look at
nice.
that.
It's getting so.
That's fantastic. Love the color.
It could not fit better in the shoulders.
Yeah.
However, it fits like a t-shirt. And I know that's because of what I put in as far as numbers are concerned, but I'm not that fond of my body in t-shirts. So the next time I make it, I had a friend re-measure me from the time we did it last summer. And he's a tailor at Northwest Ballet. And he said there were a couple that were significantly off, 2 inches-ish.
Oh.
So I will, and maybe I was just holding myself in a little too much at that point. So even though it fits a little too tight. Here's my question. Well, let me just finish that notion. When I put in the new numbers that I now have for my measurements, it will adjust everything for that, correct? For the next sweater.
Yes, but it's important to know which measurements you want to increase. do you just want a looser fit? Then you can just choose a looser fit when you buy it instead of the standard fit.
The chest circumference was 2 inches off.
Okay. You want to put in the correct chest circumference.
Yes.
Put that in, correct that, because that also determines the seam to seam shoulder width.
Got it.
And so it pretty much means you need to put in the correct chest circumference. But even that can make a sweater that is tighter than you want. And so then you just say, no, I want a looser fit.
Got it.
You know, you choose the fits at the end right before you purchase it.
And I think I took a standard.
Yes, I always do standard fit as well, but I'm starting to think maybe I should choose a larger one. But anyway, as you see, let me spotlight this sweater again. If I can find myself somewhere. There. If you see, everything, the shoulder is quite tight. The set-in sleeve architecture means there's no big clump of fabric right here. But it is, it's not skin tight, but it's just a little bit loose. It's not a loose sweater at all at the standard circumference, at the standard fit. It's not, so it's going to fit to your body. If you don't want that, then just choose a looser fit.
Could I get another body?
You know,
that might be a little more difficult.
I've seen a business around town here called the Body Exchange. I presume you just bring one in and then take one.
Oh yeah, okay.
A consignment store.
Let's do that.
Let me do the last question before I get completely.
Oh, you've got another question. Okay.
This is very brief. The sleeve fit in perfectly, but can you see that?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
What should I have done to? I know how to fix it now in the, just tighten it up with another piece of yarn, but is there something I did wrong?
No, it probably wasn't something you did wrong. It's just a very difficult hole to get to close up. The pattern suggests that you knit 2 stitches together, which you probably did. Suzanne teaches a method where you pick up a strand and then knit 3 stitches together. And frankly, I always do that, but I find it too hard to describe in words, so I didn't put it in the pattern.
Okay.
But if you look for Suzanne Bryan's video,
avoiding underarm,
about closing the gap at the underarm.
It's a fairly common thing. The other one didn't do it at all. The other arm.
I see. Yeah, it's quite variable actually.
You can see this one just came out pretty good. So
that's a great color.
Thank you. I like it a lot. Well, and it really does fit, Frank. I'm going to make it a little longer.
Of course, the length is the easiest thing to change, right? I almost don't even want to ask people how long do you want it, because you knit it as long as you want it, and the pattern basically says, yeah, knit to this distance or 2 inches less than whatever you want it to be. I mean, so it's just completely variable since there's no fitting to the body. Of course, if you're doing waist fitting or something like that, then you've got to figure out how to do that because the pattern doesn't guide you there.
Yeah. So it's been a pleasure to get this far now. So I feel a little more confident. Thank you.
Great. Sure. Rana, I see your hand is up.
Yes, one of the patterns that I ordered, I didn't pay any attention to the length, like you said. Mm-hmm. The only problem with that is if you give a length that you want, then when you figure how much yarn you need, it makes more sense. If you change it to where it's not anywhere near what you want.
Good point. I'm so glad you said that, Rana. It is, the length is taken into account in calculating how much yarn you might need.
Right.
Yarn estimate. And so if you really want it to be longer than what you said, you may not have enough yarn.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm kind of gambling on mine. I put in the pattern for long sleeves, but I'm probably going to make it 3/4 because I prefer that anyway. And I think I added a little bit extra to the length because your calculations come out to 9 skeins and I only have 7. I think it's going to work, but it's going to be a game of chicken towards the bottom.
Okay. And maybe you've heard me say this, or maybe you haven't, so I'll say it again. In order to make a shorter sleeve, I recommend putting into the pattern that your sleeve is full length and then just knit it to the place you want and then stop and add the ribbing wherever you want. Because if you change the length of the sleeve, then you've got to say, well, what's the measure of the wrist and the wrist is no longer relevant because you're now talking about shorter sleeves. But if the pattern is written to go taper all the way down to the wrist, you just stop at the elbow or a little below or wherever you want to stop. It will be the right size at that location.
Right. Good. Oh, I did. That's what I did.
Are there any other questions? How about showing us what you're doing?
I'm just binding off my lower hem. I spent a couple weeks making reticule bags and tech weeking, but see, I've just started my.
Ooh, I like that.
That yarn is lovely.
Oh God,
it is.
It's the double stockinette hem.
Ooh, nice.
Very
I've been
nice.
working on perfecting that and figuring out how to write instructions for it. So I may doodle around and make a pattern for this particular sweater with the double stockinette hems and cuffs, and
I like that.
Play around with a double stockinette neckline. But yeah, I like the way, and at least in a loosely knit item, it doesn't roll even with no blocking. It's heavy enough.
Is that yarn held double, Ron?
It's an Aran and a mohair.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking when you showed us.
The fuzziness is coming from the
It's lovely.
Yeah,
it is
it's
beautiful.
an Aran weight and a mohair. The body is knitted on 13s. The hem on.
Oh my goodness.
Much less than that. I think the hem is on 10s. The hem is on 10s. You have to go down quite a bit.
Wow.
To do the double stockinette hem without it seriously distorting the fabric. But you can see the gauge is almost identical between the body and the hem.
Did you determine that by swatching?
Yeah.
I see.
I did indeed. And just like trying a bunch of different needles, and well, that doesn't work. That makes a ruffle, or what have you.
Yeah. I will say this: Ron cheats, but he does swatch.
That's how I know how to cheat. Yeah, I don't just willy-nilly. Well, I do sometimes, but I do swatch. There's swatches, just like it's a graveyard of swatches around here. Just my drawers are full of swatches. I've just got swatches everywhere in this place.
Who else has something they'd like to share with us where you're at?
I'll do it. Sidra.
Hi, Sidra.
Who said that? Oh, Sidra.
So I had told you before I was trying to see if you could do a mosaic Mobius.
Oh, yeah.
So I tried one side of doing, half knitting and half purling, and that didn't work. I haven't blocked it yet, but I don't think that works. And then I'm just trying a regular, Mobius, and I don't think that's going to work either. So I'm going to say the answer is no, because couldn't get any answers from anybody else, so I thought I'd try it.
Well, that's what we have to do sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works. And then sometimes the reason you didn't get any answers is nobody could figure it out because it doesn't
right.
work.
So I figure I'm doing a knit along with, on a mosaic thing on Ravelry, and I will post it hopefully next week saying, no, you can't do it.
Well, that's an important lesson to learn also.
Yeah. So it has taken a little bit of time from working on my sister's sweater, but I stopped doing this for a week and then worked on hers. So it's coming along.
Judith, has anybody met you on the street and said, hey, I saw you in the newsletter? No.
Of course not. I'm still working on my hood. I'm working on my short rows to obtain the shape height that I want. So
okay,
it's still a work in progress, but right. I'm getting nearer.
And so what are you working on now? What are you working now while you're sitting here?
The hood.
Oh, you are doing the hood. Show us the hood.
Yeah, but won't show much, but it's very small because I'm gonna, well, I'm when I'm gonna do it for real, I'm gonna attach it directly on the Phrancko sweater. Then I'm gonna do a lot of increases, and well, yeah.
That's great.
You'll have to write up the pattern for that, Judith, so the rest of us that want to put a hood on can too.
Yes.
Yes, I wouldn't mind sharing it, but I wouldn't know how to adjust it to another size.
Oh.
That I'm not sure I would be able to do, but I'd be glad to share what I find.
That would be great. Who else has something to share?
Well, I can share.
Oh, good, Jensine.
This is my first sweater. See, can you see? It's a V-neck.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice.
And I just separated off the sleeves while we were talking here just now.
Oh.
Yay.
So, yay.
That's an exciting point.
Yes, it is.
At that point, everything from here on down is easy.
Well, it hasn't been that hard. The instructions were so good.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you think so. Well, that's great. Hold it up one more time.
Yeah. This yarn is from Pearl Soho.
Ah.
And it's called, I think, Good Wool. And this is the natural color of the sheep, this dark brown color.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Very nice. Well, thank you for sharing that. Who else has something to share?
Well, I'll say I'm not doing a Phrancko right now. I am doing a hat because that is about where my mind has done. So it's just a little hat. I did send off my level 1 box, and it is at the reviewers right now. And so I was gonna practice like stranded knitting or something, and then it was like, no, I'm just too nervous. I can't do that. I just have to have something really easy. So so I'm just knitting a hat right now for one of the grandkids, but hopefully I'll get it done for Valentine's Day.
Well, good luck. Good luck. I know you're going to do extremely well.
Thank you. Well, I'm excited about it.
Don't be disappointed because there will definitely be something to redo. But
so long as they don't laugh at me, I'll be fine.
Absolutely not. They will be very helpful.
Tell Frank and everyone about the cast on that you did. That was unusual.
Oh, it was. This is this hat pattern is by Jen. I'll get her picture here. Patricelli. Yeah, Parancini. She was the woman that did the size inclusive seminar for TKGA.
Yes.
Really, really liked her, and thought she was just very, very thoughtful and articulate, and just a neat woman of thinking about how to describe things and how to present them. And so I got this little hat pattern because I thought it was like, oh, this is cute. I want to see what her patterns are like. She has schematics and everything, which are really neat so that you can see what it's going to be like. And, but she had tubular cast on, and I thought, oh, but she says you can do a long tail, but she has tubular and it's a different way to do it. I got, okay, I'll try it. So you cast on half the number of stitches with a long tail cast on with waste yarn for the tubular cast on. You don't join it in the round yet. You purl all the way back with your regular working yarn. And then you join it in the round. And as you go around the first one, you're knitting one and making one. And doing a make one purl. And so now you've got twice the number. And then you start doing kind of what I think of as the regular tubular cast on, where you work one stitch, slip one stitch, work one stitch, and you do that for a few rounds. And then you join them all together in doing the lovely little ribbing, but you can see it just left a lovely, even, nice edge. And a very nice stretchy edge, and just did really good. So, and then you, when you get a couple inches in, then you just cut out the waste yarn. And it was really nice because normally when I've done it, it looked like a bunch of wonky crap. I'll just be honest, but use nice words since this is being recorded. But it was always, you know, I'm trying to have the extra ones and the yarn overs, and my tubular cast on has never looked nice. But this one does, but it was a very different way of doing it. So this was Jen's way of doing it.
Cindy, did you also go down a couple of sizes in the needle for that beginning?
When you do the beginning rows, you do it on 2 sizes smaller than the body. And Correct. Then she has you do the ribbing on 1 size smaller, and then the body is the next size. Of course, that was a 1, 2, and 3 for this yarn.
Yeah.
But you went down smaller. But I had gone down smaller before when I did a tubular cast on, and it still looked bad.
Yeah.
It was just too mushy. But this, with having the long tail cast on and then doing the tubular part from that, it just kept it nice. It just did better.
And you had no problems once you did join?
No, none at all. Because you actually had that firm edge to work in.
Right. Okay. Thanks.
We have just a couple of minutes left, and I'd like to tell you what has happened with me this week. And it's interesting that you brought up Jen Parancini, because I watched the video on size inclusivity, and I was moved by it tremendously.
I was too.
I realized, first of all, I'm very happy to say that the website has always been size inclusive. You could create sizes all the way from infant up to, I've seen a pattern, I've generated a pattern for a 70-inch chest. Someone else did a pattern for 99 inches, and I think they must have just been trying it out to see if it would do it. I mean, I can't imagine anybody has a 99-inch chest. But anyway, the website has always supported any size you wanted to do, but I didn't know about the movement about size inclusivity until I saw Jen's presentation. And so I then thought about what I've done with the designer part that is brand new. You can enter any number of pattern sizes you want up to a certain limit, and I suggested 5 sizes in small, medium, large, extra large, and 2X. And after seeing her video, I said, oh my gosh, I have not been size inclusive. And so I'm reworking the interface. It's going to be different. I am working it so that if you decide to publish a pattern and use the designer approach that the website now gives you, it will automatically create 9 sizes and populate them for either men or women or children. You can change the sizes however you like, but there will be 9. You can delete sizes if you don't want 9, but I am putting text in saying, we are size inclusive at Phrancko.com, and we encourage you to consider creating sizes for larger and smaller than you might have been used to. I will populate 9 sizes with suggested possibilities that go up to 62-inch chest and start at 30-inch chest, I believe it is. So they'll go from, anyway, I contacted Jen and asked her if she'd be willing to help me with this. And she does consulting. And so we set up a consulting appointment for this coming Monday. And she started to look at my website and has become interested in what Phrancko.com does. And I'm hoping that she will help me figure out what 9 sizes to present for all 3 options, men, women, or children. And once I have those sizes in place, I will make that new interface available, and the designer side of the website will be also size inclusive. I've started to use that language around the website as well. If you look at the home page, I believe there's already I don't know if I installed that. I think I did. I think I said that it was size inclusive, but when I put it out. Anyway, it's been quite eye-opening to me to talk about size inclusivity, and I'm really excited that I can be part of that movement and promote it for designers who use my website to create patterns for publication.
That is great, Frank.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's really, really difficult when you look for patterns and there just isn't something to fit you or the people that you knit for.
That's right.
Myself, when I make things for my mother, we're big people and people don't think about it. So good for you. I'm very, very glad.
And I'm sorry to say I'm still not going to tackle the body shaping issue. It's just too complicated for me to tackle. So even though you can create a sweater that has a 62-inch chest or a pattern that has a 62-inch size in it, it's just going to be straight body. So it's going to be up to the knitter to figure out, or the designer to figure out how to add body shaping properly to it, depending on whether they're designing for women or for men and so forth. But at least the basics will be there, and I'll cover all the sizes.
And the shoulders will fit great.
Yes, that's right. That's what I focus on. Well, I ran a little bit over to say that, but I really appreciate all of you being here this week. And I guess it's time for us to say goodbye.
Hey, thank you for your help.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Nice seeing you. Bye.
So nice to see you all. Bye-bye.
Continued help for your husband.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
I hope.
Yes. Yes.